Yusuf, welcome. Inner city crimes is on the increase. We do know that the Johannesburg CBD and areas such as Hillbrow have become hotspots. We're seeing everything from street attacks to pickpocketing, cell phone snatching, and even robberies at businesses going up. Please, could you give us an update on that?
Hello, Heidi. According to a State of Urban Safety in South Africa report some time ago, the main drivers of crime in Johannesburg can be attributed to rapid population growth, population density, and social incoherence. Income equality also contributes to poverty and crime. There is also a correlation between unemployment and crime. Unemployment means people do not earn an income, and in the absence of income, people are more likely to commit crimes in order to obtain an income. I suppose, be it sadly from ill-gotten gain. So we are seeing crimes being committed in the Johannesburg CBD, the Hillbrow area, surrounding areas in broad daylight, in the dark, in traffic, in alleys and in walkways. These criminals are brazen. We see CCTV footage almost every week.
Buildings are standing empty, flats are standing empty. People are just walking around, sitting in parks, doing nothing due to the fact that they lost jobs. It was a total job bloodbath in Joburg CBD area. Currently a bed in Joburg doesn't get cold. Day shift guard, day shift cleaner, day shift waiter will sleep in the bed at night. The night shift staff will come back and will sleep in that same bed the next morning. People are using spaces, smaller spaces, and they're paying for it. The owners can't pay the central improvement districts, they can't pay the residential improvement districts, they can't pay for repairs. And the buildings are decaying by the day. Government has to stop lying to themselves. This is a serious fact that Hillbrow is 90% foreigners and 50% is illegal immigrants. We need more CPF in Hillbrow, we need street committees, we need block watchers, we need building patrollers, and they all need to be on the same radio network reporting to SAPS. Hijacked buildings, they're not paying tax, they're not paying water and lights, and we need to address, doesn't matter who's in charge of the city, old, new political parties, they need to look at the fact that there's hijacked buildings and it's tens of thousands of illegal immigrants in these buildings.
When you look at those videos, Yusuf, it is truly frightening. You just wonder if anything's really being done about this. I want us to move over to another really shocking story. We know there's an arsonist that has been attacking homes in Johannesburg's northern suburbs. There have been over 10 cases, possibly more. Maybe you could just give us some details on this particular story.
So this suspected arsonist is preying on upmarket homes in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg, and there are now fears that it is even getting more dangerous. Houghton, Dunkeld, Ilovo, Hyde Park, Parktown, and surrounding areas are some of the suburbs targeted over the past few months.
In February 2021, the first incident happened. We didn't realize that there's a link between all the incidences that happened. And after investigation and looking and going through and joining a lot of the different groups, and CPF forums, we picked up that definitely there is a common thread going through all of this, and after investigation and after the latest incident, definitely we can pick up that the modus operandi is similar in a lot of these cases.
And what is the modus operandi, Val?
Well, it seems like it's individual. There would be an open area, felt or substation close by where the person would be hanging around. And then, of course, early evening he would come through, breach the fence, etc. There's no alarms that has been received. And he would hang around in the area. In one of the instances, one of the dogs was sprayed with pepper spray. So the perpetrator is well prepared. And in the early hours of the morning, he would enter the house. The alarm, for whatever reason, will not be triggered. And he would have something to eat, drink, out of the fridge, and then in the early hours of the morning, about around 4 o'clock in the morning, he would set the house on fire. A lot of these instances, he hasn't interfered with the individuals that stayed in the house, but there's been 2 or 3 times now that it's becoming more brutal, and that the individuals have been assaulted.
How many cases are you looking at?
Well, if we look at all of them, and remember, we don't know of all of them because we don't provide all these services, there's others, but looking at the different groups, WhatsApp groups, etc., I believe that there's about more than 10 cases for longer than a year that has happened. Not all of them were arsonists involved, but definitely where we believe that the same individuals involved.
And you're now offering a reward of what, 100,000 Rand? Are you making any progress?
Yes, we have given out the reward. Anybody with information that would assist us. We're also deploying additional teams. We've got drones flying at night, etc. The important thing is, one of the stats that I've picked up, all of this happens in a radius of less than 2 kilometers in all the areas where we operate.
That's such a shocking story. I hope they catch the perpetrator there. Let's maybe move on to kidnappings, Yusuf. We've spoken about this time and time again. There have been more instances in the Eastern Cape, and you have also some exclusive footage. I ask this every single week. Are police making any inroads? And perhaps you could just give us some safety tips.
Kidnappings of especially business people are definitely on the up. Crime figures show dramatic increases, especially over the past year. Now, the police have beefed up their kidnapping task team, headed by crime intelligence, that happened earlier this year. We have since seen some significant inroads being made. One of the major syndicates have been arrested, and a number of smaller groups are now behind bars. In Lenasia, Johannesburg, an alleged kidnapping kingpin, 44-year-old Faisal Shalouz, and 14 others were arrested over the past few weeks. This gang is linked to a number of kidnappings in the Gauteng area. Police freed one victim when some of the suspects were arrested, and they also recovered millions of rands of cash, that's allegedly ransom money paid by one of the victims. Vehicles as well as illegal firearms were also confiscated. Just this week, police found a house in Annandale to the south of Johannesburg where victims were apparently held captive, sometimes for weeks.
Any breakthroughs in arrests, and more specifically convictions, is great. It does send a sign to people who might want to try this, that actually people can get caught for these types of crimes, and more importantly, convicted. But I'm concerned that this isn't really going to impact on your professional groups. It's like a drug syndicate. If one kingpin's kidnapped, either a new person is going to step right into their place, a new group, or again, that same syndicate is going to replace that individual with someone else.
Police want to now question this man in connection with some of these kidnappings. He's been named as Abramjee, also known as Muffins, and he's from the Lenasia area in Johannesburg. Anyone with information can call Crime Stop on the 08600 10111 number, and you can remain anonymous. In the Eastern Cape, Pakistani nationals are also being targeted. We are told there were at least 5 kidnappings over recent months of especially shopkeepers. This victim was terrorized, and his family was forced to pay a ransom for his release.
Please.
Today is your last day.
What is that? Cocklead.
Is what?
Cocklead. Cocklead.
What car is it driving? Look at me.
Yes.
Look at me here.
Yes, boss. Yes, boss.
Talk to me.
Yes, boss.
What must you say to your wife? Last words.
Say give money. Say to him, give you money, please.
Where is your money?
Where are you hiding?
We are killing you now.
What can one do to prevent a kidnapping?
Well, what we definitely have seen is a situation where the majority of the people that are being kidnapped in these very high-profile cases where there's lots of amounts that the ransom consists of, it's people who don't have close protection. So, and when I say close protection, I mean professional people, and not just your cousin Vinesh who has nothing to do and has a firearm, and you ask him to look after you. Really properly trained, qualified close protectors is probably the best way to deter a kidnapper or kidnappers from actually focusing on you. Now, of course, not everybody has the luxury of being able to afford that. But I do think if you're in that high category of high-risk people, as I said, we've seen a lot of people of sort of from the Indian community, so to speak, who are very wealthy or being targeted. I think typically you might be able to afford that kind of protection.
And generally, if you are kidnapped, remain calm, just cooperate with them, Prof?
Yeah, I mean, typically these people have done their homework. They know who they're going after. They don't kidnap someone who can't pay them whatever amount that they want. And, you know, you really need to lead this up to the people who are negotiating for your release. And hopefully those individuals, your family members, are going to get experts to assist them through this process and not sort of just try this on their own. But yes, sit tight. The most dangerous time for any person being kidnapped is the actual time when you are grabbed by the kidnappers. During the release, and of course when the person tries to escape. Those are pretty much the three most dangerous periods, or when the police try to do a tactical release. So those are perhaps the four most dangerous periods. And if these are professionals, the chances of you actually getting away are not very good. So just cooperate, don't try and fight back. Just sit there. You're literally the passenger until this gets sorted out by the people on the outside.
Indeed, sound advice from Professor Gerald Lebuskagni. Remember, always stay alert.
Thank you so much for that update this week. That was Yusuf Abramjee for this week's Crime and Safety feature.